like a lot of TikTok videos and people, it's like, if you want to achieve this in life, like you should be this, you should be that. But I feel like the one
Mm,
thing people should be focusing in, it's like learning about yourself, like being self-aware, learning about what you're good at. So like instead of like trying to like copy exactly what I did, it's like learn like your good skills, something that can be useful for students. I feel like a lot of people second guess themselves, and like even if you're introvert, extrovert, or whatever, like even me, that I feel like people think that I'm very confident, but like in my insides I was like dying, like I'm gonna look dumb, I'm gonna look stupid, but like I would just like ask anyway, and I would like talk anyway.
yeah.
And yeah, so I think that putting myself out there anyway, has helped me grow. As a parent, like I feel like so many parents will tell you, like, you just become so good at time management. Though we're
Mm.
literally in our calendar, like, yeah, I can hang out with you like Thursday at 3:15 for like, it's like everything, it's like in a schedule, because like we just
Mm.
you just have so much to do that you really have to plan ahead.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Melo Marisco. Today we have another amazing guest. I am really excited about this conversation. We've already been talking a bit, so I know it's gonna be good. So today we have Fernanda Solentay. She's a PhD candidate engineer in chemical engineer at Yale and a content creator as well. So I'm super excited. Fernanda, like how are you?
Hi, I'm good, and you?
I'm good. I am like you can already see like I'm excited, and again we've been talking for a bit now, so I'm really excited for this conversation. And I really want to start with your story. Like how did it all begin? What who was Fernanda a few years ago, where like now you're a PhD student at Yale and then a content creator, and you're also a mom. So like how tell us since the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like it's crazy. As I was telling you, I feel like I've lived like so. In summary, I was born in El Salvador and
Mhm.
I grew up there. When I was like around 5 years old, my dad moved to the US,
Oh.
looking for the American dream. And I he always told us that we were gonna come at some point, but then like 14 years passed by and like we were like,
Oh.
it's not gonna happen. I was like already, I graduated high school. I even started university in El Salvador. I had like my life set up, and then out of nowhere my parents were like, and they were separated, by the way, and
Mm.
they told me like, okay, like now is the time, and they both thought that this was going to be like the better opportunity for my sisters and me. I have two sisters. um,
Mhm.
so yeah, so when I was 19 years old, I moved to the US with my older sister. And
Okay.
um yeah, we came to live with my dad here to Connecticut. And we lived with him for like a year, and after that then it was just my sister and me. And like many things happened, but throughout that time, like I had to work, but I always had the dream of studying, of going to college. I love
Mm.
studying, and especially like science, math, engineering. So I decided to continue my studies, and I went to a community college. Then I transferred to a four-year college, the
Mhm.
University of Connecticut, got my bachelor's. And during that time, I always had to work full time. So, I started doing
Wow.
jobs as like working at Chipotle or Wendy's, washing dishes,
Mm.
hostess, all that type of stuff. And then, but then I was able, when I got my associates, I was able to get a job as a project engineer in
Mhm.
Collins Aerospace, which is an aerospace company here in Connecticut. But then I graduated with my bachelor's, and then I decided to start my PhD, uh,
Mhm.
also in chemical engineering at Yale. And that's what I've been doing for the past like 3 years. And during
Wow.
that time, yeah, I had my son during my junior year of college, and then I
Mhm.
had my daughter my second year, I think second or third year of PhD.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a blur. And then I started content creation like 5 years ago or so.
5 years ago. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So that's like in summary,
It's
everything that happened.
yeah, that's a lot. And honestly, there's like so many topics that we go within that. But I want to start with your when you came to the US because you came here when you were like around 19 years old.
Yeah.
So how is that experience like having to learn a new language, like knowing that you want to study, so like you have to like really work hard to not because I imagine chemical engineer like science stuff is not an easy topic, especially like terminology. So how is that experience?
So yeah, well, when my parents told me that I had to come here, I was excited at the beginning. I was like, "Oh my
Hmm.
God, a new adventure." And I'm going with my sister, but I feel like I just didn't realize what was happening until it happened, you know? And
Okay.
when I moved here and I was here and I didn't have my friends and I didn't have my family, like I was living with my dad, which I haven't lived with him since I was 5 years old, so it's like kind of like a stranger.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew English because I was in like advanced English in my school. And
Oh
then I
wow.
came here and people talked to me and I was like, what? Like, ¿qué? O sea, what are they saying? Um, so it was a very frustrating, especially because like I love talking. I'm like very extrovert
Mm.
and I was always like, like I want to say something, but I don't know how to translate it. Um, but as you said, like because I wanted to go to college, I knew that I had to learn English. So I enrolled myself in ESL classes. I went for like 2 months and I just felt like it was never going to be perfect. And I just wanted to study, to start college again. I was like, I was like about to turn 20 and I had to start. I was just like, I have to do it. So I enrolled myself in the community college, in a community college here. And it was like crazy because I would go to classes and I wouldn't understand what the professors were saying most of the
Yeah.
time. But I don't know, my reading skills were better. So like I would just
Mm.
study by myself and actually like before the semester even started, I bought the books and I emailed the professors and asked
Smart.
for the syllabus because I knew that I was gonna fall behind in the semester. So I was
Yeah.
like, let me just like try to be ahead at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but also the experience of like not having my family. I will wake up and I was like so sad because I'm like it's like you're dreaming and then I will wake up and I'm like I'm in El Salvador and then I'll open my eyes and I'm like uh-oh, like I'm not there.
That's not it.
And
Hmm.
it was like very sad. Like right now I'm like happy, like 11 years have passed by, but at that moment like everyone who has immigrated, they know how hard it is. It's like really hard to like change everything.
The question I had was, how were you able to not fall into the trap of this like culture and the culture environment, like this work environment, this work culture environment that we have that could be very toxic, and also like school, like studying like a bunch of hours. Like, how were you able to manage that and have like a balance, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I've seen that a lot here in the US, the culture of like always working hard and like people
Hmm.
like, not taking vacation,
Yeah.
and but then they go to like you go to like Europe or Latin America and like everyone's just like not chilling, but like I feel like they're living life. And I feel like
Hmm.
growing up in El Salvador helped me with that because
Mm.
back in El Salvador, I did study in university there, and like
Yeah.
nobody was asking, did you get an A? Or like nobody was like
Mm.
fighting to be the best. Like we all just wanted to have fun. And
Mm. Okay.
we were like having fun and being young and like studying at the same time, but
Mhm.
like nobody was like aggressive about it. And or at least like my group of friends, like nobody, like we will have study groups and stuff, but we will go out a lot. And then when I moved here, I did see that everyone was just like super focused. And I think that people also talk about like coming to the Northeast, not even like the whole.
Mm.
I feel like even, in Connecticut and New York, it's like I was like saying hi to everyone, good morning. And everyone was like, why are you talking to me? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just trying to make conversation, but they were like, I'm just trying to like go on with my life. And so it was like obviously like I felt bad about it. I had to like get used to it in a way. Like
Mhm.
it's like I keep being myself, but it did hurt me for a long time that just like I felt like I didn't fit in, in that.
Mm.
But yeah, but going back to your question, like coming here, I did see a lot of people like working hard. And because I feel like I'm a competitive person by nature, I was like, I'm gonna work hard too. And I was like working hard to get like all A's, like perfect GPA.
Oh
And because,
wow.
like I love what I was studying, that's my passion. And then I saw like people being like super competitive. I was like, they're like, let's work hard. So I did kind of like fell into that trap, but at the same
Mm.
time, I was the person who will go out after, like we had an exam because I had to work during the whole day. Usually my classes were at night. And like I remember I had a math exam that ended at like 9 p.m. But I went all dressed up because I was gonna go out after, I had to live life, at the same time. And that's like something El Salvador taught me, growing up in Latin America taught me. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Dressing up before during the day of the exam. That's funny. You mentioned also in the beginning how you took the initiative to email your professors and like get the syllabus and all that. Like what advice or like how did you think, I don't know if that makes sense, but how did you think about that? Because I feel like for me, like personally, as someone who's like shy, I feel like I would just like let it go. Like I would just kind of like that imposter syndrome, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or like, oh, I don't fit in. So for you, like what type of I think that would be the question, like what type of conversations were you having with yourself during this whole this whole process? Because I mean, like you mentioned, it wasn't easy, like you kind of like were by yourself, like having to figure this out. So how what were those conversations that you were having in during that time?
Yeah, I feel like and I honestly I've thought about this a lot now that I'm older, and I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like why did I take, because at that moment I was just like literally just acting. And that's like I
Mm,
feel like those are two things that have helped me. One is that, people talk about networking, and I feel like I just do that naturally. Like I'm like beyond extrovert. Like I don't even know. I haven't I just feel like I talk to everyone. I like,
mm,
and it's just like it just like comes naturally to me. Like my mom is like that. And then the other thing, which like sometimes it hasn't been good, but like I feel like I act without thinking. But like
mm,
you tell me about an opportunity, I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Like I haven't even thought how we're gonna do it, but like I just go and do it. But the one thing that I want to say is that I feel like sometimes like I've seen like a lot of TikTok videos, and people it's like, if you want to achieve these in life, like you should be this, you should be that. But I feel like the one
mm,
thing people should be focusing in, it's like learning about yourself, like being self-aware, learning about what you're good at. So like instead of like trying to like copy exactly what I did, it's like learn like your good skills and work on
mm,
those instead of like trying to work. I mean, obviously, it's good to like work on the things that you're not good at, but I feel like you will get so much more out of it, like trying to like understand yourself and
yeah.
pros and cons, right? And how to
Mhm,
use your skills to live your life. So I feel like, now that I'm older and, reading, going to therapy and like analyzing my life, I have realized that. So, but yeah, going back to something that can be useful for students, I feel like a lot of people second guess themselves. And like, even if you're introvert, extrovert, or whatever, like even me, that I feel like people think that I'm very confident, but like in my insides, I was like dying, like I'm gonna look dumb, I'm gonna look stupid, but like I would just like ask anyway, and I would like talk anyway,
yeah.
and yeah, so I think that putting myself out there anyway, has helped me grow. Because like what we were talking about before, about starting things, whenever, even if you're not 100% ready, because
Yeah.
anyone will learn along the path, right? So
Yeah.
for example, in my case, in content creation, my videos were not great at the beginning. Even like the way that I was talking, like I have an accent, my English is not perfect, but back then it was even worse. Like the
Mm.
way I communicated was like so bad. I tried to make a YouTube video and I had to cut it so many times because uh, mm, uh, you know, Um, so with time, like I just like became better, and like, as I go, I'm learning. So I feel like
Yeah.
the thing is just like to start whenever, like not you, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, because when I mean again when we were talking about before we started recording, I mentioned how today I'm making a year in my podcast, which is like for me it's freaking crazy, and I
Happy
think
anniversary.
yeah, thank you, and it's for me I feel like not, and I made a video actually in my content in my social medias on how it's been a year and I feel like not a lot has changed. Like externally, like sometimes we start something and we feel like oh we're gonna make money, or I'm gonna have like a different lifestyle, or I'm gonna have a bunch of friends now. And the reality is that it's not like that's not what happened. And there could be a lot of factors. I could have done so many things differently, but in itself, like this, I wouldn't have known what I could have worked on or still have to work on if I hadn't started the podcast. Because if not, this year I would have been like, oh, maybe I should start a podcast, and like maybe somebody wants to have a conversation with me, like a stranger have a conversation with me. I was like, no, like the reality, like people actually want to help you out. Fernanda, I see her, like I haven't met her before, even though we live pretty close, which is crazy, and
With
and really close, and that that's crazy. And when people don't go after like what they want, and they, how you said, take that action, just take that leap of faith, like they won't know what the opportunities that could come. And yeah, so
Yes,
thank you for
and but
sharing.
like even in your journey, like I bet that even if you are not exactly where you wanted to be a year later, if you like really analyze everything that you have done, it's a lot. Because this
Yep.
happens to me a lot with research, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm still stuck in this problem. Like it's been months. But then when
Hmm.
I look back and I really analyze everything that I have done, like I have done a lot of things. It's just
Yeah.
like some things like move slower at some point, but like you actually learn, as you said, as
Yeah,
you.
as you go. Yeah, and I think like one recommendation I give, like now that I'm thinking about it, is like when you do start something, like focus on the skills and kind of how you, what you mentioned, like focus on your strengths, and then the skills that go with the thing that you want to do. Like for me, it's the emailing, like how to write better emails, how to pitch to people, how to do better editing skills, stuff like that. So then I putting it back to you, like what are actually like some skills that you've had to learn, that maybe weren't your strengths, but that were like really essential for the work that you're doing, whether it's like professionally, your content creation, or even like now that you have two kids, I imagine like that's a lot of stuff you had to learn. And so, like, what were some skills that you had to learn and along those? And you can mention as much as you want.
Yes, I feel like the biggest one has been time management. Like if I could go back in time and like tell Fernanda like 10 years ago or whatever, and like tell her like actually you can be doing so much more because you don't have two kids. And I feel like I'm doing much more now, and I have
Oh.
kids. But it's just like as a parent, like I feel like so many parents will tell you like you just become so good at time management. Though we're
Mm.
literally in our calendar, like, yeah, I can hang out with you like Thursday at 3:15 for like, it's like everything, it's like in a schedule, because like we just
Mm.
you just have so much to do that you really have to plan
Yeah.
ahead. So it's something that's super useful. Even in college, for example, I feel like a lot of students don't focus on that, and you're just like living life, and like you're always behind,
Mm-hmm.
and you study until the last day. And but if you actually plan things, you
Mm-hmm.
like let's say you study a little bit every day, then you don't have to sleep late one day before, right? When you actually one day before the exam, when you actually need that sleep.
Yeah.
And yeah, actually I'm gonna make a video on my social media about this, like my calendar. Time blocking is
Mm.
like, just look it up,
Yep.
it's like super wait, let me cut that. um I don't know what I wanted to say with that.
But
Let me see. Um, yeah, okay. So yeah, I was gonna make a video about this on my social media, how I keep up my calendar. I mean, you can do this digital calendar for free, like Google Calendar
yeah.
or Calendar. I do time blocking, and that's super useful to keep track of everything. Because if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. That's all I know.
That's so true, and I feel like that's something I'm working on too. How how is it in the beginning, like because in itself, like doing time blocking, it's a habit that you have to create, like, and setting boundaries as well is something that you have to set, especially when you, like you said, like if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. So how was that process in the beginning on what was the struggles, what were the obstacles in maybe doing the like the actual thing of time blocking, or the actually setting boundaries, like telling your friends or telling, I don't know, your kids, like, oh no, we can't do this today because of this and that. Like, how was that process in the beginning, and how is it now?
Yeah, I feel like before, being better with my time, I used to say yes to everything because as I told you, like I would say yes to everything because everything sounded excited and it still does, but now when you start managing your time, you start to realize of like how little time you have. And so now I'm like better, are saying no. And it's not because I want to say no most of the time. Like sometimes it's just like I can't. Like we can do it in like 2 months if you want, but like not right
Yeah.
now. And so yeah, at the beginning, I started reading articles about it, and then you just start like time blocking your day, and it's never gonna be perfect. Like there are some days that I don't do everything that I didn't do all the tasks that I was supposed to do, or
Yeah.
some tasks took me longer than others. But this one helps you because with time you realize how much time you're actually taking. And at the time that I started doing my time blocking, I remembered that it was because I was working like 12-hour days. I feel like studying when I started my PhD. So this was like classes and like research and stuff. And then someone told me, I forgot if it was my therapist or a friend, but someone told me, are you actually working those 12 hours? And if you realize,
Mm.
even if you go to work 8 hours a day, are you actually working those 8 hours? And that's when I realized, like, I really have to work smarter, not harder. And I have to learn how to manage my time. And you can literally sometimes work like 4 hours, 5 hours, depending on your job. And that
Yeah.
could equal to like 8 hours because you were focused, right? Because
Hmm.
you manage your time. So, I mean, I will encourage people, I can talk about this a lot, but like, I'll encourage people to like look into time blocking instead of doing like the to-do list and just like give it a try. And with time, I feel like you get better with planning.
Yeah, I think definitely that's what it is. It's like those incremental like actions that you do, so that becomes a habit. Because even right now, when you're say talking about like, are you actually working those like 12 hours? Like for me, it's like a 7 hour shift, but I'm a for those who don't know, I'm a substitute teacher, so I just have to take attendance and that's it. And I just like sometimes forget about the students and I'm doing my work. And it's for me, it's like for me, I like this job because I get to work on my stuff. Like I'm there editing my videos, I'm there like sending my emails, finding people who I could have in the podcast. So don't tell my boss. But like I use that time productively as compared to like I see like even like I see students there like just on their phones when I'm there. I'm like, man, like, you could be doing so much. Like you could be starting a whole new business and making like thousands of dollars. But no, instead you're on your phone scrolling on social media. So it's like and how you also mentioned the audit, having like doing an audit on like on your day, like what are you actually doing? I think that's super helpful.
Yeah.
For you, now that you have kids, how you mentioned that like now you have it's like easier for you to do time management, but how do you balance these stuff of like being a PhD student, creating content, and then taking care of your family? How has that worked? Like again, how is it? How was it in the beginning, and then like how has it evolved?
Yeah, no, I had the same question when when I just had my kids. I'm like, who, like, I need to find someone online or like someone in the world that tells me how do they do it because this seems impossible. But you learn as you go, and at the beginning it was a disaster, and even now, like, what I want to say is like the balance is not perfect when you're
Yeah.
doing like more than one thing at a time, which like I'm doing research, I'm doing my content creation, and then I'm taking care of my kids. So I feel like I learned what besides like time management, a lot of it was also delegating when you can,
Mm,
and as you grow. So for example, for my content creation, I found a person who now helps me with I
mm,
still create the content, but she helps me posting and like
mm.
picking the music, and like I feel like those are like tedious tasks and like mini tasks that like just take a lot of your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, yes.
Yeah, I can
And
relate.
so she helps me a lot and like finding trends and ideas and stuff
Mm,
like that. And so I started this last year, and it has saved me so much
mm,
stress and so much time.
yeah.
Um, and then, in my house, um, for example, now I'm grateful that I'm in the position where I can have someone who help me clean the house, because first of all, I hate cleaning, but second, like I feel like I don't have the time. So now I'm able, but I know like before I wasn't able. And for the people, that even just like small things like saving to get like a washing and drying machine, or like saving to get a like a what is this called? Sorry, hold on.
For the dishes.
Yes. Oh yeah. And saving
Yeah,
to get a dishwasher.
dishwasher.
Yes. Things like this, like you just start delegating in some way,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, like saying, putting boundaries, not saying yes to everything,
Yeah.
and managing my time. But like I feel like I had to understand two things. One thing is that even though I'm like super competitive and I always wanted to be the best one, now I have to be okay with just being good enough, because I can, like I feel like this is a realization that I had. I always wanted to be the best and I wanted to do this, and I had like so many dreams, but you have to realize that you have to live with those decisions, you
Mm-hmm.
have to work hard. Like sometimes, like a lot of people send me messages and it's like, oh, help me like to start creating content, like how did you do it? And a lot of it, it's just like try it and like work hard. And it's like, sorry. So you have to live with your decisions, like whatever life you're living, that's what you're gonna get at the end. So
Yeah.
in my case, I know that I wanted to be more with my kids, and like unfortunately, like I cannot be the best and like work like 12 hours a day in
Yeah.
my research and also be with my kids. So that's what I decided. Like I prioritize, my family time, and then I work like the hours that I need to work for my research, and then now I have like my assistant for that helped me with the content creation. And usually like I only use one day to create some content, but
Mm-hmm.
now like if there's a day that I was supposed to post and I don't have anything ready, I'm like whatever, like I can't
Yeah.
today, because that's like the least of my priorities. I started my content creation to help people, and now I've been blessed that it's also an extra income for me, and I'm like super happy about it. But at the same time, it's like I have my list of priorities, and maybe
Yeah.
like the research and my family are the ones that fluctuate the most. Because like research, for example, like last semester I had to do my candidacy exam. So
Mm-hmm.
those months that I had to like prepare for that, I told my husband like I need your help, because it's also conference season for me in the fall. And he was like helping a lot around the house. And actually, because he works in accounting and like finance, the first months of the years are like the most busiest for him. So
Mm-hmm.
like now these months, I'm the one who's like taking over
Mm-hmm.
more. So it's like you help each other
Yeah.
out, but it's like never a perfect balance. I do want to put that out there, because I was
Yeah.
looking for it. I was like, I need the formula, like someone gave it to me. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're just like trying our best.
Yeah, I think I remember like now you mentioned that like how there's no sometimes there is no balance. There's like you that like in the beginning you said 80% him no you and then 20% him because he's doing the work on like his actual job, and then during the fall is like him 80% and then you 20% like taking her home. And I remember this podcast episode with Jay Shetty, like those who listen to Jay Shetty on purpose, he was having a conversation, I believe it was with another podcaster of the Diary of CEO. I think I want to say it's that one, and they were saying or they were talking about how they themselves don't have that work and life balance, like because they're passionate about the things that they do, they put a lot of work into it. Actually, I think it was Alex Hermosi that was saying this with him. I could search it up, but the point is like sometimes there is no work and life balance. Like if you're really passionate about something, like you're gonna put all your time into this, or at least try to. Like also knowing what your priorities are, like your values and all of that. Like for you as your kids, like of course I'm gonna spend more time with my kids, and work might be less. And so it's like, and how we mentioned in the beginning, like you have to learn to know yourself. Like what is it that I want to do? What is it that like all these big questions that sometimes we don't ask ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that's super important, because it's like when you're younger, I mean, I don't know if this happened to everyone, but when I was younger, because I just entered my 30th era this year, when I was younger, I feel like I was doing a lot of things for a lot for like other people, or
Mm,
like how I will look like, oh my God, if I win this scholarship, or if I do this, or if I do that, and it's like, do you really
Yeah.
want it? Do you really need it? Like, are you happy with the life that you're living? Those are the questions that I ask myself now. And it's
Mhm.
like, now I'm like trying, because I feel like, as we were talking before, like, I feel like I fell a lot into the trap of like working a lot and making work the most important thing in my life. And
Mhm.
now I'm like trying to like have a work-life balance as much as I can. But
Yeah.
when you, as I said, like when you're doing like when you're juggling more than one thing, and you also want to practice self-care, it's the balance is never gonna be
Yeah.
perfect, but you just have to be okay with that, that it's not
Mhm.
perfect. And this is the life right now. Like, I think it's super important to remember that sometimes you're just so focused on what you're gonna get at the end, but like you're actually living your life right now. And like I
Yeah.
always say YOLO, and I know it's like so, because it's like so millennial, but you literally only live once, right? And you have to remember that. So you have to be happy with the path as well, the path you're
Yeah.
in at the moment.
And I feel like these past months, that's what I've been like really trying to ingrain in my head, like that you only live once, or like you really have to be present in the moment. Because again, especially as like as us young people, no, I'm kidding.
You got me.
As us young people, like we want these results, like we want to have like, and maybe like for me, like how I've defined success. And I think that maybe that's a question like you could answer for me after I say this. Like for me, success is having enough money to kind of like to like let my for me and my parents to kind of like go out, and like them for us to live like, because we've been like we're low middle class, so it's like we don't have like this life like how I see other people, especially in the school that I work at. I was like, man, these people are crazy. But I want to give those opportunities to my parents and to myself and to my brothers, and for me that will be success for me. Like for you, what was how let's do the before and after. Like what was success for you before, and what's success for you now?
I feel like I was focusing a lot also in following my passion. And so to me was that's what it was, being successful, like
Okay.
whatever that had to do with following my passion. Like I knew, back then my goal was to get a college degree. My parents didn't get a college degree, and my mom ingrained that in my head, like, you have to graduate, no matter what, you need to get that degree. So, and I feel like so many things happened throughout that time. I went to community college, and usually that makes people like take longer. Like, you don't take 4 years to graduate, right? Because first I got my
Mm-hmm.
associates, then I transferred, and it took me longer than 4 years. I already started when I was older, right? I was like 20 when I started. And by
Mm.
the time that I graduated, like I was just like, oh my God. Like, maybe for some people, their bachelor's degree, it's like, oh, so easy, I'm done. Like, my parents have like master's, PhD, so this is
Mm.
nothing. But
Yeah.
for me, it was like, damn, like this was like road. Like, I'm so happy. So, and then I defined the next step of like what it's
Mm.
gonna make me successful. And but as you were saying, I feel like also because when I moved here, I also was low income. And yeah, because like my dad was like working at a Wendy's too. And
Mm.
my sister and I, we were working at Chipotle, Wendy's, and all of these places. And then we wait, let me see that. So we were working, my sister and I, we were working at Wendy's, Chipotle, all these places where we were working for the minimum wage. So one of like um so one of our goals was to get out of that situation. And so what I started to do, and what I love, like I always tell these to the people who follow me, like I was
Mm-hmm.
there as well, and I always thought it was impossible or it was gonna take forever. But that's what I'm saying, like enjoy the path, because you're gonna get there at some point if you keep, working hard for it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that was helpful for me is that I started focusing on the skills that was gonna give me the most money. But it's like weird because like at the same time, like I wasn't driven by money, but like obviously I wanted to get out of that situation
Yeah.
where like, we didn't have like oil in the middle of the winter,
Oh
or
wow.
it was like a bad situation. Like we didn't
Yeah.
have as
You
money.
you need money to like get out of the situation, so you have
Exactly.
to. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but then, I feel like now that I started the content creation, which is, I think, the one that gives me the most money, there was like a period of time where I went crazy. I feel like because I didn't have money
Hmm.
before, I was like, I just want everything. And then you get to a point when it's like things don't make you feel the same way, right? And then you realize like, what am I doing? Like, and then I started, on TikTok and podcasts and with books or other resources. I started learning more about it, and
Hmm.
learning about like the high yield savings account, like a 401k,
Hmm.
stuff like that, and like not only savings but like investing. So I feel like it took time, but now I'm definitely better, but it took time also because like where I come from, like my parents didn't teach me. They didn't even know.
Yeah.
Like, they also probably still have a bad relationship with
With
money.
money.
And this is the thing when you come from low income families or underrepresented minorities,
Communities.
like most of the time like they don't teach you about these things. So you have to like learn it by yourself, and at the same time,
Hmm.
while you learn, you make all these mistakes. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I would just like advise people like what it has worked for me. It's to like get online and like learn a little by little by yourself. Like, but don't believe everything you see on TikTok. I feel like you know
Yeah.
try to like find reputable sources.
For sure. I think one of the books I recommend, and maybe you could give any recommendations that you may have, but one book that I read a while ago was called The Psychology of Money. And that book is really good in explaining like how money works, and it's pretty much like the compound effect. So literally just doing little by little, and like it's gonna compound, and then you're pretty much set. But it's being consistent with that. So I think The Psychology of Money is a good book. Do you have any recommendations of books or podcasts or people like maybe that you actually like, find credible?
Yeah, one of the TikTokers that actually has a lot of great recommendations and I love, she's called Vivian, your rich BFF. I don't know if you have seen
Mm, yeah, yeah,
have you
yeah,
seen her. She always has this like, I'm Vivian, your rich BFF.
yeah.
Yeah. So she has a book out that I actually want to get. So I don't recommend it yet because I haven't read it. Like it looks good, and like all the information that she puts out, most of the time, like I have gone and asked other people, in finances and
Mm,
accounting. She's usually like, I mean, the stuff that the stuff that I have asked about, it's like really good.
okay, so Vivian, your BFF. Yeah, I think I've heard about her. So definitely go check it out. Maybe I'll put a link on the description below, and the book that I recommended too. Um, yeah. So with where were we talking? Yeah, really, I'm like, what relationship with money? What's the one big mindset takeaway that you've had in this with your relationship with money? What's that like? No, let me rephrase that. What has been a mindset change that you probably would have been like, oh no, that's crazy. Like Fernanda from like 5, 10 years ago, been like, no, like that's not how money works. Like no, but now like Fernanda, like now right now, like it's like okay, like this is how money works, and like this is a mindset shift that everybody should like try to start implementing.
Yeah, I think that the biggest mindset change is like, I've heard these from a lot of like uh a lot of friends who also come from low income families, is that the parents always say like, oh, focus on saving,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how like you're gonna have money in the future. But from the resources that books I've read or stuff that I've learned, is that yeah, I mean, you have to save but also invest a lot, and like because I feel like
Yeah,
our parents are like super afraid of like wasting money, so
yeah,
it's like you just pay to pay and then you save the rest. But if you want to get more money, then like people can invest it either in like stocks or like
real estate.
houses,
Mm-hmm.
real estate, and stuff like that. So that's something that I'm still learning, but for me it was like a huge mindset change, because I was like, no, I'm
Mm-hmm.
so afraid of like wasting my money.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people when they go into their finance journey, one of the books that they always recommend is like Rich Dad Poor Dad. So if you haven't read it, like
Oh
people
yeah,
who are
I started
listening,
that one.
yeah, like definitely go listen to it or read it, like either one of those two. Now I also want to move into your social media content creation because I know at least personally I struggle with that. Like I'm not consistent with it, and then there's that second part of like the actual content creation, like filming, editing your videos. For you, how has that journey been? Again, like that before and after. How was it before? How was it not? Because it's like that transformation, that journey. So for you, how has that been?
So, yes, I think that when I started, as I mentioned before, I feel like I wasn't great at it. And actually, I started on Instagram, and then
Mm.
I met someone on Instagram that who told me that TikTok was hiring people to create educational content. So I applied for the program, and TikTok hired me before I even had a TikTok.
Oh wow.
And through the program, I started making TikToks, but
Hmm.
that was like a failed attempt. I finished the program with like I don't know, like 1,000 followers or even less. Um, I don't even remember, but it was not good, you know.
Mm.
But after that, that semester, because I was like in the middle of the fall semester, I was like, okay, when I'm done with the semester, I'm gonna
Yeah.
try it again, and I'm gonna go all in. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's the thing with me when I start something, I'm just like go all in.
Mm.
And in that December of that year, I think it was like 2020, I was posting every single day, but
Oh wow.
also because I know that it's like not sustainable to do content like every single day, especially at the moment I had my son as well.
Mm.
What I did is like I found a way to create content and edit in the easiest way possible. I feel like I'm
Mm.
like a master of like work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
But I was, for example, one of the things is like I was not gonna record myself because I didn't want
Mm.
to get ready every single day. You know, like
Mm.
I didn't want to do my makeup and stuff. So I just started making videos, and I would just shoot my computer and like my hands. So I would
Mm.
talk about the resources or whatever tip for students that I wanted to share,
Yeah.
and it was all like showing my computer. If you go see like my old videos, that was the format, and that's the way
Mm.
that I was able to post every single day. And with time, the editing got easier because I learned things, but
Mm.
obviously it takes time. And I started noticing what other creators were doing. And taking notes of like, oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
should try that. And I'll incorporate it in the things that I was doing. So yeah, with time, the editing, like shooting, getting the idea of shooting and editing, everything like became easier. Because before it will take me forever just to think of an idea and go and record it and then edit. And then, now with time, actually yesterday I recorded a lot of videos,
Mm.
and it was like in one day I did so many, and like
Oh
the
wow.
ideas will just come to me, and I was just like, like now it's so funny, but like when I get invited to parties and I go, sometimes it just like comes to me like an idea of a TikTok that I saw, a trend or whatever,
Mm.
and then I do it with my friends and I edit it like almost instantly, and I'm like, here it is, and
Oh
they're like,
wow.
wow, that's so fast, but like you get used to it to do it like over time.
Yeah.
And the other thing is it was I love with like people like feel ashamed. Like I used to feel like, oh my God, like I don't wanna wait, is that in your house?
Yeah. Oh, can you hear the people?
No, now I can hear it.
Let me mute
No, but not
myself.
before.
Yeah, let me mute myself while, and then if I have something to say, I'll mute myself.
Oh no, it's fine, it's fine. I was just like, wait, is that my house or your house?
No, there's a daycare like literally right next to my house. Like it's a house, but like the lady has a daycare.
Ah, okay.
So there's a bunch of kids, especially at this time. So yeah, you good.
Yeah, no, but it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
All right,
Like I was just like, yeah.
you wanted to make sure. Yeah.
So I let me see. Um Oh yeah. Okay. The other thing is like, like people feel like I used to feel ashamed of like recording and
Mm.
like talking to the camera. So I would literally hide from my husband or my sister or like whoever. I was like, I'm gonna be in the room and I don't want to meet it. Like I'm not talking, yeah, because it's like sounds funny when you're like, hi guys, like today I wanted to tell you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um with time it's like you get more confident, and also once you like start getting like free stuff or like getting paid, like now my
Mm.
sister come and it's like now she gets like free stuff from my house, and I'm like, okay, like but you were making fun of me, right? Before at the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, and let me think. And then the other thing, it's also, like you get a lot of like cyber bullying sometimes. Like sometimes the video goes viral, but it goes to like the wrong side of TikTok. And then, at the beginning, I used to get offended. Like, I will feel bad about it
Yeah.
because sometimes they either attack you for things that already hurt you, or they attack you for something that you were actually not feeling insecure about. And it's like,
Mm,
and then everything like things
de
up,
picado.
and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Yes. Um, but with time as well, like what I will say to people, it's like, yes, like you're gonna have haters and people making fun of you, but at the end of the day, it's like do whatever you want to do, because at the end of the day, in my case, we can call one of at the end of the day. um in my case, I know that I'm helping a lot of people. I've gone to like conferences and I meet a lot of people in person, and they tell me that, and I'm just so happy when they tell me like, I also have a kid and like you inspire me,
Mm,
and I'm like, oh my God, like you inspire me too. But I just haven't heard your story, and that's why I put my
mm,
story, because I didn't say this before. I kind of said it, but when I found out that I was pregnant, I went to YouTube the first thing, and I'm like,
mm,
student mom, like someone please tell me that you already did it. So I feel like
mm,
that was one of the reasons why I was sharing, because I wanted to share resources that help people like me, and as an underrepresented student, immigrant, like all these things that define me, but also as a parent. And I feel like now I'm like that person, and I like I don't have it all figured out. My life is not perfect, but I just want to show people like I'm here,
mhm.
like I achieved this, and it's possible. You got this.
Yeah, and I think that's why well, one of the reasons why I started the podcast is like to share these stories and like damn, like it is possible and like look at this transformation, like because again we have sometimes we forget, like we see the end result, like oh like look she's made it, she's good, but then we haven't seen the whole story that you had to pass through, and it's like we have to remind ourselves
Exactly.
like that's where we started, and we could also end up where you, well like not exactly where you are, but like the things that we want to accomplish. So I think
Yes,
that's really
exactly.
important.
And
Yeah.
I'm like the other side of the story for
Mhm.
some people, because like I already got my bachelor's, I'm already doing my PhD, but
Yeah.
I also have like my other side of like things that I want to achieve. So then I look up like other people that inspire me as
Yeah.
well. So like so happy that people are online sharing their stories and like resources.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, and even with that, like, thank you for sharing your story because again, it impacts a lot of people. So I appreciate that. And again, there's I kept saying again, but there's also a lot of lack of representation here in social medias, especially I've heard there's a lot, especially with the conversation I had with Sonia from a while back, how especially there's not a lot of women in the STEM field, like in the science field. So definitely like sharing stories that to inspire other women, and especially like little girls who may have that toxic masculinity like in their home or environment, where it's like no, you could actually do like these type of stuff. But yeah,
Yes.
so
And,
thank you.
oh my God. And now that you're bringing this up, it just like reminds me that honestly, I didn't think that the that the guys, that people were still thinking like this. It's like 2024. How is people still thinking like
Still
this?
thinking.
But actually, one of my videos just went viral like
Mm,
last week or like 2 weeks ago,
yeah,
and there were a lot of guys saying they had a lot to say about girls in STEM, about
really,
me, but also in
in
general
general.
about girls in STEM. And like as I was telling you, I feel like with time, like things don't hit me anymore, like they
Mm,
don't hurt me.
yeah.
But like this one did hurt me just because I was so disappointed in society. How
Mm,
are guys, not all guys, but like
yeah.
some still thinking like this. And so, like I went to some of the profiles, and some were even Latinos. And I'm like, why? Like literally, like why?
Yeah.
Like I'm doing for everyone, like especially the Latinos, and you're like telling me this. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's why we have to be there,
Yeah.
being the representation.
Be
That's
the
it's really
representation.
needed.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. And ooh, I was gonna ask one more question about your content
Yeah,
creation
yeah.
as well. For the planning, how, because you mentioned right now how you plan in a one, like you did your videos yesterday like in just one day, how, but you also mentioned how you had like ideas just came up, so how's your process with creating the content? Like, is it just like, okay, I'm gonna plan this day, I'm gonna film this day, and then I'm gonna, like, the ideas come, or do you already have ideas and like, okay, and then like if some ideas pop up, like I might do it, like, how's your process?
Yeah, so okay, first of all, while you're scrolling or social media, that's you're literally doing research. So
Mm,
save those, whenever you see like a funny TikTok that it's like a trend and you thought it was funny, save it because like you can make it and spin it in your own way, you know?
okay, your
So like
niche.
if I saw it and it was like for like making fun, like if it was a meme for like people who travel, but like I thought it was funny, I'll save it and then I'll like
Mm,
spin it into like girls in STEM or something like that. And that's one thing that I keep saving. And it's not only that like the trends, or if I see something cool, like some editing
mm,
effect or whatever, I'll save it. And I share these album with like the person who helps me.
mm,
And then she shares her ideas as well there. So then what I do is like most of the time I plan the month ahead. And as I said, like it's never perfect. Like we don't
yeah.
always follow it 100%. We have to, because I always like reassess every week, but at least I have like some ideas. And
Okay.
also to like think, okay, like I'm already doing a meme this week. Maybe I'm gonna share a resource as well, and then I can do a get ready with me. And it's like, to like have more than one thing.
Mhm.
And then usually I use one day to record or edit because some of the videos, like I'm just using like old videos, but it
Mm,
also takes time do the editing. So
yeah.
like then I do it that day. So when I do the planning, as you like, because that's what when I do the planning, like I write down like the theme of the day or like the theme of the video, and if I have like an
Mm,
inspiration video or like an audio that I want to use, I save it.
okay.
I use Notion calendar. I don't know if you guys know if you know what Notion is, but like that's where I save all my stuff. And then the day that I have to record, then I go back and
Mm,
it saves me time because I don't have to like actually research. I already had an idea
yeah.
before, and I just like record and edit.
Mm,
And then after that, like I create the captions and leave everything ready for like the person who's helping me. She can just go and post. But now, for example, Instagram, I love that it has the scheduler. So now you can put
oh,
the video, the and everything, and you just
yeah.
leave it everything ready. You say like, okay, I wanted to go live at 12, so that's like
Hmm.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also, I think it's also using like those resources because we how you mentioned Instagram. There's also this software called Metricool, and I'm sure there's a bunch of them too, where it also, it's when you wanna put a lot of content in different platforms, the same content in different platforms. So Metricool, I know it does that, like Instagram, TikTok,
Adobe
Facebook.
Express. Yeah.
Hmm?
Adobe Express also
Adobe.
does that.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, okay, I need to
I
check that
use
out.
Adobe
Adobe
Express
Express.
for that.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what we mentioned like earlier, like delegation, like that helps you save more time. So it's like using resources like that to help you manage your time and be more efficient with it. Before,
Yes, I definitely, sorry, I
no,
just wanted
no,
to say like
yeah,
that
yeah, over.
we always try to find like the way to do things, the smarter way, like the way that the
Yeah,
simplified way, the one that's gonna take you the less
yeah,
time if you want to optimize.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that with that, that also comes a lot with like a lot of mindset changes, like thinking differently, asking questions differently. Like how can there's like a bunch of like te están sacando la basura. Like what a great time. Um,
Yes.
hold up, and what was I saying? With that comes a lot of mindset changes. So you have to think differently. You have to ask questions differently when you want to work smarter, not harder. Because and honestly, that's something that it's still that you learn along the way. Like even like now, like if you want to, I was start like for example the podcast. Like, if I want to make it better, if I want to be more efficient, like I have to ask different questions. Before we end, I want to ask you one more question. My last two questions, but before my last two questions, my last question, because I want to be mindful of your time. Is there anything else you want to mention that you think I should have asked, and it's like you want to other people to know who are listening, like is before I ask you my last two questions?
I
Sorry.
feel like we cover a lot, but I just want to remind people, and I know it sounds like corny or like, oh, everyone says that, But like, but I am telling you this from a person who, was probably in your position. Like I was low income, like as I was saying before, like I literally didn't have like money for the gasoline, or like
Oh,
the oil for like there were like so many things that happened. And I literally never thought that I was gonna be in the position that I am right now, like having
mhm,
a good income, having a house, and you know, oh,
yeah,
I never thought that I was gonna be here. So I am telling you that it can happen if you work hard, if you keep pursuing your dreams and your passions,
yeah,
it is going to happen. Like don't lose hope. Along the way, you're gonna find people that probably are gonna discourage you, but don't let that discourage you. We didn't talk about this, and I didn't share, but like people have told me stuff too. Like, oh, you shouldn't take this class with honors, like, or you
oh,
shouldn't. I have those times in my life that people told me. Sometimes it didn't even sound in a bad way. They were just like, I don't think it's possible. But if you
mm,
think it's possible, just try it, because so many times you have no idea. You get things, and after trying, and so imagine like if you didn't try, you would have
mhm.
lost that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And that's funny because that's actually one of the your answer kind of relates to the question I was going to ask towards the end, but maybe you could add something else. So my last two questions, the first one will be from this whole journey, and we talked about it a bit too, but from this whole journey, this whole transformation, what has been your top three moments? Like I'm pretty sure there's a bunch, but your top three moments, whether personal, professionally, whatever you define them as, that you were like, holy crap, I can't believe this happened to me. Like I'm so grateful. Like oh my god, like that unrealness feeling, but that actually happened. So what has been like those top three moments for you that come in your
Ah, there's so
yeah?
many. There's
I
so
can
many,
imagine.
but yes, but I will go kind of like in order. The first one is, it's super important to me, because like one of the things that I was struggling so much, it was with learning English. Like I was trying so hard. My sister can tell you, I was like, let's do this again, let's do this again. And she was like, I'm so tired, I don't want to study English anymore. And I was like, ask me again, ask me again. But I remember someone told me that when you dream in another language, that means that you learn the language. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it's true, but the first time I dreamt in English, I was like, I did it! I know English. So that was like a big, meaningful moment for me. Then the second one, probably was when I got accepted to Yale. I remember that when I was applying to graduate schools, you know, I didn't know if I should apply to like MIT, Yale,
Mm,
Columbia. I was actually applying for graduate schools that were close in the area, because I already had a family and my husband was working in Connecticut. But so I applied to like several colleges, including those. And I'm like, I mean, should I like, I'm not gonna get accepted. But
mm,
at the end of the day, I ended up applying to Yale and Columbia. And and actually, oh my God, it just like, actually, that I got no, wait, let me rephrase this. Um, oh, and actually, I got a fee waiver for so many universities
oh wow.
except Yale. So I actually considered, because at that moment I didn't have money, and I was like, $70. Like, am I actually gonna spend $70 if I'm not gonna get accepted?
Oh
You
wow.
know,
That's
actually thought
wild.
about it. Yeah, and then I ended up doing it and got accepted. And so when I got accepted, I was like, no, this is probably a mistake. Like in like a week, they're gonna know. And it was a crazy moment, because like I came here and I was just grateful to be at a community college, and then just grateful to be at UConn at the 4-year college. And like every stage, I just like I never imagined, but I've been grateful. So like getting to that point, I was like, wow, is this
Yeah.
real life? So and then the third one, there's like so many moments during my content creation journey that have been like unbelievable. But I think that going to the SHEP conference, which is the Society of Hispanic Engineers, and it's the biggest conference for Hispanic engineers in the US. I
Oh.
was invited to go as a content creator and go as a speaker with Sonia,
Mhm.
actually. And the first time that I was talking there in front of people, you want me to wait? Oh no, okay. Um, the first time that I was talking in front of everyone, I was just like in disbelief, like what, like I'm sitting in front, like I have a microphone, I'm like sharing my story, like I have something to share because I was this student sitting and like hearing eh, I was like those students just a few years ago, you know, and it's just like so crazy to like look back and see how much you have accomplished and like how many people you're affecting now, like you're influencing and you're helping, and that was just like amazing to see.
No, yeah, I could just imagine. And ooh, thank you for sharing because I know that's gonna inspire some people who like oh this happened to her, like that could happen to me type of thing. So thank you for sharing. And my last question, which you kind of answered in the previous question, it's for those people who want to start a project, a business, a hobby, want to start a hobby, you know, whatever it is that has been in their mind for the past year, 2 years, time has passed, what and they think in internal medicine like normal medical is not for me, I'm not good enough, you know, they have those thoughts. What either advice would you give them or what actionable step do you think they should do like right now?
Yeah, I would say that whatever you want to do, just like do a little research at the beginning, but don't get stuck on it. Just like do a little research to know how to start, and
Mm,
then just start. Because as we were talking about, you learn as you go.
yeah.
The other thing, like try to find people who are in that space, and network with them, and at the end I feel like it's just gonna come natural that you're gonna become friends with them, and then from those friendships you're gonna find more opportunities and you're gonna learn. So this is what
Mm-hmm.
happened to me with the other content creators who are also engineers. We became so close, like we're friends with Sonia, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I have helped them get some opportunities. They have helped me to get some opportunities. We have collaborated together, and I learned, like we both, all of us learn from each other. So, finding that community and people who are doing the same thing, I think it's like super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then the last thing I'll say is, I mean, it sounds corny, but like, don't give up, because just as a reminder, we always see these people that have made it or they're making it right now, but you don't know what's behind. You don't know how much they're working. So if you
Yeah.
really want that, don't find the excuses, just like have the eyes on the prize and keep working hard for it. Because I see the behind the scenes for a lot of my friends. I have this friend who's a CEO of Papaya Tutor. I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's this she's Peruvian.
Mm.
And like we see her and it's like, oh my God, you're achieving so much. Like I want to be you, but like you have no idea how much work she has put into that thing. And now she's like doing amazing. And I'm so happy for her, but she has worked for that, So
Yeah.
like if you really want it, you have to know that you're gonna have to work for it.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing it. And I hope everybody listened to that. So, and if not, like listen to it again because that's something we have to ingrain like that consistency and like putting that work in. Because sometimes we think it's gonna be easy or like, oh, like once we start, like they say, like first step is the hardest, but there's still a lot of things that you got to learn along the way that makes you want to give up. So, definitely have that in mind. But again, thank you for sharing. And we could have talked about so many things, and with talking about your Yale, like getting accepted to Yale, like all the obstacles you had in there. We could have talked about your brand collaboration. So we definitely need a second episode, which we've already like trying to plan in there before we started talking. But yeah, and I want to thank you again for being here, for sharing your story. I know it's gonna inspire a bunch of people, and like those who are listening, like definitely um go follow Fernanda. Like if you could share your social medias, I'm also going to be putting them in the description. But if you could share them like in here for those who want the audio version of it, like where can they find
Yes,
you?
yes, they can find me as Instagram and TikTok as Fern Sulantai.
Excellent. Yeah, perfect. And I'll again link it in the description below. With that being said, Fernanda, again, thank you so much for being here. I really, really enjoyed that conversation. Again, we could talk so much more, but definitely part two. And for those who are listening, don't forget to leave a review if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, a 5 review only. And then if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and Yeah, leave a comment on like the gems that you've heard, the tips, the insights that you've gained from this podcast episode. And with that being said, again, thank you, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.